Your multi-million-dollar security stack was just defeated by a single copy-paste action. It sounds like a hypothetical scenario, but for most security teams, it is inevitable. Your legal team didn't just hack the firewall, they just pasted a confidential contract into a free AI analyzer to save 20 minutes. The deal gets signed, but your pricing model and liability clauses are now training data for a public model. You have no control, you have no audit trail, and you cannot verify the deletion. Hi. My name is Cole Padula, and I'm from Cyberhaven. Here's the hard truth. That leak wasn't malicious. It was efficiency. You cannot block your way out of this. Most companies are playing whack-a-mole with domain blocking and losing. You think you're safe because you block generative AI? You aren't. Shadow AI is simply the path of least resistance. There is a massive blind spot in your security visibility. Your approved list is static. The AI ecosystem changes hourly. Until you close this gap, your data is walking right out the front door. That legal team example is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind that one copy-paste is a massive unmanaged ecosystem. We're talking about hundreds of niche sites, PDF parsers, code optimizers, co-working agents, processing your proprietary code right now. It's a hydra. For every major domain you block, 10 new wrappers appear. These look like legitimate SaaS tools, rewriters or summarizers, whatever you want to call it, but they are just API calls to GPT-4 running on obscure URLs. Your web filter sees a low reputation productivity site. It doesn't see the LLM backend absorbing your data. Developers are particularly adept at finding these side doors. They will spin up personal cloud instances on AWS or Azure to test code optimizers, bypassing corporate proxies entirely. Marketing teams are just as dangerous, often using free online PDF converters to reformat press releases or customer lists. These tools frequently monetize by feeding uploaded documents into third-party training sets on the back end. You block the front door, but your users are finding endless side doors that look like harmless productivity utilities. Even local, open source models often send usage data back to creators for quality assurance. The attack surface is now a fragmented mesh of APIs, local runtimes, and browser-based utilities. You are fighting the browser itself. If sanctioned tools are slow, users find browser extensions instantly. These productivity assistants often read the screen directly, scraping data from Salesforce or GitHub before it even hits the network. They capture the data as it renders pixels on the monitor, bypassing your firewalls entirely. The browser is the new endpoint, and right now, it's wide open. Then, there's the gap in personal accounts. Users often bypass enterprise licenses to use personal accounts to access beta features that aren't yet on the corporate plan. The moment they switch logins, that session moves company data into a consumer-grade environment where your enterprise privacy agreements, MSAs, don't apply. Your data is now subject to standard consumer terms of service, which often grant broad rights for model training and data retention. The hard truth is that you cannot block your way out of this sprawl. If you rely on static lists, you are looking at an outdated map. The perimeter has dissolved. And because this perimeter has dissolved, traditional network security has become a blunt instrument. It's looking at the highway, not the cargo. Your firewall sees 5 megs of data moving, but it can't tell if that's a generic blog post or your Q3 financial spreadsheet. Even deep inspection tools hit a wall here. Modern encryption makes it nearly impossible to look at what's inside that traffic without breaking the applications you're trying to protect. And even if you could see inside, those tools were built to catch malware signatures and credit card numbers. They weren't built to understand context. They don't know the difference between a helpful code snippet and a critical leak. When a user pastes Python code, a network inspector sees generic text. It cannot know if that code is a Stack Overflow sorting algorithm or your proprietary authentication logic. To make that distinction, the tool needs the history of that text, its origin and modifications. Network tools lack that memory. They only see the packet in the present moment. This is the context gap. Using AI isn't an incident. Using AI with sensitive data is an incident. Without distinguishing between open source code, which is a productivity win, and proprietary logic, which is a critical leak, you face a binary choice. Block everything and kill innovation, or allow everything and accept the risk. The leak starts at the system clipboard, not the firewall. The second an employee hits Control-C on a sensitive file, that data is in flight. Traditional DLP loses the trail instantly, treating it as generic text. When you can't distinguish sensitive copy-paste from harmless ones, you flag everything. This drowns your SOC in noise. When everything is an alert, analysts tune out warnings or whitelist domains just to clear the queue. creating blind spots for you and your team. Finally, platforms like Slack and Jira are integrating AI features that use third-party models to process your data. Network tools miss this internal traffic entirely. To solve this, you must stop tracking the application and start tracking the data lineage. So how do you actually make that shift? It starts by stopping the obsession with the application. Start tracking the data itself. Cyberhaven tracks where the data came from, not just what it looks like. Your security policy should depend on the source of the content, not the reputation of the website that it's going to. Imagine a user copies Q3 projections from a confidential spreadsheet. The system instantly tags that data as financial restricted. When they try to paste it into a generic AI rewriter, the system blocks the action, not because of the website, but because the data itself is too sensitive to go to a model such as that. The destination doesn't matter, the data will protect itself. This kills false positives. If that user copies public data, the system will stay silent. They can use tools like generative AI without interruption. You stop wasting cycles on harmless behavior and focus on the actual risk. The real power is in the feedback loop. Instead of a silent block, the user gets a prompt. You cannot paste this content because it originated from a confidential document. The system explains exactly why. It's real-time coaching. This offers a way forward. Instead of a silent block with no context, no instructions, the user gets a way forward to understand how they can remediate their own issue. Hey, please utilize this AI tool instead, which our organization allows. This keeps your data safe and coaches the user in real time to help them understand your internal policies. For legitimate work, the request exception button turns a hard block into a documented choice. The user must provide a business reason, which is logged instantly for the SOC team to review. If they proceed, their name is attached to that risk. This shift from hiding in the shadows to owning the risk changes behavior immediately. You convert a dead end into a decision point. The user learns why the action was risky, and the business gets an immutable audit trail. Over this time, the feedback loop reduces the number of blocks as users internalize safe data handling procedures. We call this the glass house strategy. You can give employees broad access to AI because you have strictly gated sensitive data movement. This brings shadow AI out of the dark. Users don't need to use personal devices or VPNs because you aren't blocking tools, you are governing data. The walls are transparent, but the exits are guarded. Finally, this restores operational efficiency. By shifting the lineage, you escape the endless tool approval loop. You don't need to audit every new AI startup. If sensitive data cannot physically enter their input fields, the risk is neutralized, allowing the business to innovate without sacrificing control. But solving the copy-paste problem exposes a deeper issue. Once you lock down the clipboard, users will drift toward a vulnerability that requires no interaction at all, one that sits within the browser itself. The era of static allow lists is over. You must pivot from managing applications to governing data flow and lineage. Think back to that legal team. With lineage, that story ends differently. The moment they hit paste, the system recognizes the source, confidential legal share, and blocks the transfer to the public model. The deal still gets signed, but your pricing model stays private, even though your legal team might have to work an additional 20 minutes or utilize a sanctioned tool. Cyberhaven tracks the history of every piece of data, giving you a control layer beyond the application. You stop chasing apps and start protecting core assets. Real control comes from seeing the data's journey, not just where it ends up. If you want more actionable security guidance like this, click on the next video.